The following videos are footage of some of the occurrences that have taken place since the Atlanta Police Department killed Rayshard Brooks. A quote I recently heard given by David Chappelle himself: "The streets are speaking for themselves."
Stop killing our brothers and sisters.
Bro, y'all set a building on fire.
That building, we can't bring our brother back. Rayshard life is more than that restaurant. Until they understand that. Until they understand that we are worth more than these corporations, these buildings, our life matters, I'm afraid this is gonna keep happening. We can't bring our peoples back, man. We're sick of this.
Protesters shut down part of downtown Connector Highway in Atlanta tonight. This is live footage. It's happening right now. And they marched to the Wendy's. You can see in this live video that this is where it happened. They set that Wendy's on fire. Now, it appears actually that this is another reaction from the protesters. They've smashed windows at that fast restaurant. Police say the 27-year-old Rayshard Brooks was sleeping in his car when officers approached him, and he and the police got into a scuffle. Well, as Brooks was running away with what appeared to be one of the police officers' tasers, according to GBI, he was shot and killed. 27-year-old Rayshard Brooks was shot and killed after a scuffle with police. This video released by GBI shows the last seconds before Brooks was shot and killed by a police officer. Atlanta's mayor says the shooting was not justified.
While there may be debate as to whether this was an appropriate use of deadly force, I firmly believe that there is a clear distinction between what you can do and what you should do. I do not believe that this was a justified use of deadly force and have called for the immediate termination of the officer.
What the video doesn't show is moments before the shooting, but there were onlookers that did capture the initial scuffle with police. According to GBI, the incident began with a call to police at 10:33 p.m. about a man sleeping in a parked vehicle in the restaurant's drive-through lane, causing some customers to drive around it. Police gave Brooks a field sobriety test, which he failed. Brooks resisted arrest and struggled with officers. A nearby surveillance video captured the shooting that happened after the scuffle. Take a look. You see Brooks running away from officers. If you look at his hand, it appears he has a taser. GBI said Brooks had taken one of the officer's tasers. In the video, Brooks turns toward the officer with the taser in his hand. The officer then shoots Brooks, who would later die. The mayor does not support the officer's actions.
What has become abundantly clear over the last couple of weeks in Atlanta is that while we have a police force full of men and women who work alongside our communities with honor, respect, and dignity, there has been a disconnect with what our expectations are and should be as it relates to interactions with our officers and the communities in which they are entrusted to protect.
Some protesters disagree with the officer's actions, too.
Instead of shooting, do a taser. I mean, they know when they pull a gun, 9 times out of 10, they're going to kill somebody. If he's pointing a taser at a police officer, they have the bulletproof vest. A taser not going to hurt them if he shoot it in their chest. Just shoot them with a taser, not a gun. Every time something happens, you don't always have to pull a gun out on somebody. They have tasers for a reason.
Though the mayor calls the shooting unjustified, others disagree because Brooks pointed a taser at the police. And earlier today, Atlanta's police chief, you see her here, she also stepped down. GBI is investigating this police-involved shooting.
We heard from Governor Kemp, and before I even talk about what he had to say, we're showing you the Wendy's now. The fire has broken through the roof of that building. You see the blaze there. We talked to an Atlanta fire sergeant a while ago who told us that because of the safety of the firefighters that they were having trouble getting close to the building. And so now we've seen the fire move from the drive-through window in the dining area and now has broken through the roof there. So we'll continue sharing those images with you. But tonight we've also heard from Governor Brian Kemp. And in a tweet this afternoon, about 3 hours ago, he wrote, at the Atlanta Police Department's request, the GBI launched an investigation into the conduct of the 2 APD officers that led to the death of Rayshard Brooks. I am confident GBI Director Vic Reynolds and his team will follow the facts to ensure justice is served. And then he continued in another tweet saying, as always, we stand ready to provide resources and support to protect Georgians who are peacefully protesting. And for several hours this afternoon, these protests were very peaceful, Jeff.
So the questions certainly will be, the curfew was stopped a week ago, Saturday night, exactly a week ago. There will be questions about that, if there is an added concern about that, if there will be more protests in the days ahead, and certainly the law enforcement tact. A state of emergency had been declared by Governor Kemp, and it too had been terminated, where, Faith, they began with a couple of hundred of Georgia National Guardsmen, and it escalated to 1,500 by the time we had gotten to the middle of the week following the destruction.
And at some point this evening, we saw tear gas was deployed among the protesters, but nothing like we saw in the early hours of the protest that started 2 weeks ago at Centennial Olympic Park. Nothing to that magnitude, but again, we're watching as this fire burns the location where this officer-involved shooting happened yesterday at 10:30 p.m.
If there is an upside on this, if you're familiar with this area at all, the proximity of that Wendy's to other buildings, there is some distance. So the fear of this blaze perhaps spreading to other buildings is probably not realistic, at least from the vantage point if you're familiar with that area, because it's a building that stands alone off of University Avenue over there. There are a number of other buildings and businesses, but they're not right on top of that Wendy's. And tonight, that's a good thing, as the Wendy's is going up, and it's going up in flames. Again, from Sky Tracker over there, you can see the Wendy's ablaze now. The vegetation fires to the right and left, but it began in the drive-through window approximately about 25 minutes ago, and it has now grown. It would appear that Atlanta Fire will not be going in there to put this out, that there had initially been some concern, as Sergeant Cortez Stafford from Atlanta Fire had told us, that if they could get their trucks in there safely with an escort of Atlanta police, they would hope to be able to put it out. But at this point, we don't see any sign that Atlanta Fire will be going in there, at least anytime soon, but perhaps that changes. All right, our time right now is 10:43. Traffic beginning to move a little bit on the freeway. We will continue to have updates with you and for you coming up in the minutes ahead. Stay with us on this Saturday night in Atlanta.